It all started as a routine procedure. I went to the bank to move some funds. Nothing out of the ordinary. An account that had been in my name since Dad died. A small inheritance, but enough to sustain me while I reorganized my life. I sat down in front of the cashier, handed over my ID, and waited. But he frowned. Keyboard. Clicks. Look at the screen. Back to the keyboard. Are you sure this is your account? I nodded, almost offended. Yes, it's in my name. It's been for more than 10 years. He typed again. Well, not anymore. Silence. What do you mean, not anymore? The account was closed 6 months ago. All funds were transferred to a joint account. Here I have the authorization signed by you. He handed me a sheet of paper. And there it was. My name. My company. My supposed consent. But I never signed that. My world came crashing down. I felt as if the air in the bank became denser. As if the ground were no longer firm. Could you give me a copy of that, please? I left there with my heart in my throat and a trembling in my hands that I had never felt before. They had emptied my inheritance. They used my name. And the worst part, they had started months ago, and I had no idea. If this story is resonating with you, comment below where you're watching from and what time it is there. I didn't sleep that night. I spread the papers on the dining room table, enlarged the supposed bank authorization, and stared at it for hours. My name was there, my handwriting, forged with surgical precision. My signature, a perfect imitation, but not mine. And it wasn't just that one leaf. Looking through previous documents, I began to find more. Authorizations to move funds, permits to sell shares of a property, even an alleged legal power granted 2 years prior, everyone with my name, all with my signature, all without my knowledge. That night, I cried silently, out of rage, helplessness, and fear. But I also felt something deeper. They were erasing me from existence. They were using my identity as a mask to plunder what was rightfully mine, as if I were a legal obstacle that had to be silenced. And the cruelest thing wasn't the counterfeiting. It was the fact that whoever did this, he knew me well enough to imitate me. Like, to know how I write, how I sign, how I act. It was a betrayal with intimate knowledge, from the inside. And that's when I knew. This was not a mistake. It was an operation. Meticulous. Cold. Family. When something breaks so deeply, the first thing you try to do is deny it. There must be a mistake. Perhaps I signed it without realizing it. Perhaps it was a misunderstanding. But not. I knew it. I felt it. The signatures. The documents. The movements. Everything followed the same pattern. A specific timeline. Access that only a very few people had. And then, one night, while reviewing old emails, I found a detail. A message forwarded by mistake. A PDF with a scanned authorization from my cousin's email. It wasn't direct evidence, but it was a crack. And through that crack, the whole truth leaked out. I started connecting the dots. My uncle, the family lawyer, who handled the paperwork after my father's death. My cousin, who always knew too much about my paperwork. A property was sold without my signature, and without the bank raising any suspicions. The network was there, and each face had my blood on it. I had trouble accepting it, because it's one thing to think that someone is taking advantage. Another one is seeing their names on forged documents, see their messages exchanging versions, as if I were a story to be erased, a figure to be moved, an heiress to be neutralized. And the worst part, everything had been done based on trust. They used what they knew about me, what I shared without suspicion, to legally dismantle me. They were not strangers. They were my family. The first time I confronted my uncle, I thought he would deny everything, but what he did was worse. He smiled. I don't understand what you're talking about, niece. You should rest a little. You're very upset. That condescending tone chilled my blood. He didn't deny anything. He did not defend himself. He just tried to destabilize me emotionally. My cousin did the same thing. Are you sure you didn't sign that? Sometimes you forget. As if my memory were fragile. As if my rights were a draft in their hands. I tried to stay calm. I gathered more documents. I photocopied everything I had. I put together a folder. I included dates, names, signatures, and discrepancies. I tried talking again, this time with a different guy. I thought he would believe me. Are you going to break up your family for money? That was his only comment. The betrayal didn't matter. The forged documents didn't matter. What hurt was that I spoke, that he would bring the rot to light. And when I made it clear that I intended to take this to court, the subtle threats began. Think carefully about what you are doing. This could backfire on you. You don't know who you're messing with, but I did know. I was messing with people who had decided that I didn't matter, with people who, for money, erased my existence. And that's when I decided I wasn't going to stay silent. Not this time. I went from victim to investigator, not by choice, but for survival. I started checking every corner: notary records, bank statements, minutes of family meetings, even forgotten emails. Everything had a superficial layer of legality, but if you looked closely, the cracks were obvious. Dates that did not match, signatures that appeared before the documents were supposedly sent, meetings where decisions were made about things that never existed, false consents, and names of people who swore to love me, protect me, take care of me. They had set up a legal structure in which I only existed as an obstacle, a name that had to be put on paper to justify, but without a real voice. They had even created a parallel account where the inheritance funds would go before being redistributed. What hurt me more was the intelligence with which they did it than money itself. Because there was intent, there was calculation, there was coldness. And with each step I discovered, I confirmed something I already suspected. This was not a management error. It was a deliberate act of asset disappearance, a robbery disguised as family management, a legal mutilation of my history. But the worst was yet to come, because among everything I read, I found a document they didn't expect to fall into my hands, a letter from the family's lawyer, detailing how they would get me to sign without me noticing. There was no doubt about it anymore. They had decided to rob me, consciously, and they had done it with my last name. I didn't say anything, not a single message, not a single call, not a single confrontational glance. Silence, because I understood that speaking ahead of time was a warning, and they were used to operating from the shadows. So I became a shadow too. I consulted with independent lawyers. I gathered evidence, organized timelines, and recorded conversations. I requested access to public records, sworn statements. I even hired a handwriting expert. Every day it was hard for me to breathe. But it wasn't fear. It was the focus. He slept little. He ate just enough. He lived as if he were preparing for war. Because it was. They moved around as if nothing was wrong. Family meals, happy posts, speeches of unity. Meanwhile, I was reconstructing the entire framework that had left me out of my own story. I knew that going to trial meant more than just a legal process. It meant destroying ties, exposing people who, for years, had presented themselves as family pillars. I knew they were going to hate me. They were going to say that she was greedy, ungrateful, and confrontational. But there was a truth that compelled me. They had already taken everything from me. I had already been robbed. I was only going to recover what was left, my dignity. And just when everything was ready to explode, destiny did it for me. The day of the hearing was marked on my calendar like a sentence. I woke up early, folder in hand, ready to face whatever came. But that day, I wasn't the one who spoke first. It was the press. A scandal erupted in the city. A parallel investigation into money laundering and tax evasion had intercepted suspicious bank transactions. The origin? The same movements that I had reported. The same accounts created with my name. My family was urgently summoned by the court, not because of me anymore, but for a bigger one. The news spread like wildfire. Names, dates, amounts, and above all, the word that no one expected to read: falsification. Everything I had tried to prove for months. He was now a starter, and the best or worst part was that I did nothing. Destiny, or what some call karma, had decided to act without waiting for me. My uncle's lawyers resigned. My cousin closed her social media accounts. One of the accomplices broke down and confessed. My name finally appeared as a victim in the official documents. And that day, for the first time in a long time, I breathed without guilt, because justice, though slow, had begun to move forward, and she had done it, alone. Justice does not always restore what was lost. Money, property, opportunities. Sometimes they don't come back, but there is something that did come back to me, the voice that had been stolen from me. It was not a clean process, Not fast, not even without wounds. There were nights when I doubted myself, when I wondered if it wouldn't be easier to just give up, close everything, forget. But every time I thought about giving in, I remembered the moment at the bank. The first time I was told that it no longer existed, that my accounts were empty, that my name was only valid on forged paper. And then, it continued. Today I walk lighter, not because everything has been resolved, but because I chose not to continue carrying what they tried to impose on me. I don't need your apologies, nor their justifications, nor his lies disguised as family anecdotes. It's enough for me to know that the truth came out. The mask fell, the silence was broken, and although I didn't get every penny back, I recovered something bigger, my story. And with that, I can start again. They wanted to steal more than just an inheritance from me. They wanted to steal my identity, my memory, the place that belonged to me. But they forgot one thing. When one has been silenced, betrayed, and displaced, the truth becomes a promise, and that promise is fulfilled. I didn't have to shout. I didn't have to take revenge. Destiny did it for me. Today, I look back and feel no resentment. I feel clarity, because what begins in lies ends in ruin, and what is built with truth remains. If you were ever made to feel invisible, if what was yours was taken from you, if you were used, write it down here. I too have a story that has yet to be told. And tell me where you're watching this from, and what time is it there? Because if this story touched something inside you, perhaps it wasn't a coincidence.